Right. Hey, shall we just try and get it laid down or whatever you do with digital stuff now we're here? Hey, welcome to the studio. Thanks for managing to join us, in this Zoom age. So, Stephen, welcome. Tell everyone who you are.
I'm Stephen Langford. I'm the director of .com at Marks and Spencer's.
And so what does that entail? Because most of us have grown up with Marks and Spencer's. And so as a result, we sort of just see it in the background. Can you just bring it into focus for us? What is today's M&S like, and M&S.com in particular?
I suppose for those who don't know Marks and Spencer's, M&S, where have you been? Obviously a British... wouldn't like to say institution, but value for money retailer, very much focused on its own label across food, clothing, home, and then a number of services, so bank, energy services, both in the UK and internationally. So operate across about 1,500 stores globally, over 100 websites, a workforce of circa 70,000 colleagues, and we serve approximately 30 million customers each year.
Wow. And tell us the shape of those customers, because for the oldies like me amongst us, I remember going with my gran when I was a kid. I bought suits there when I started as a young, wide-eyed accountant. So it's been sort of part of my life. But am I now the main customer, aging but handsome, or have I been pushed aside by youngsters, families? What's the shape of those 30 million?
It's a very broad spectrum, as you'd expect. It is a different shape across the various parts of our business. So our food demographic varies quite significantly to our women's wear demographic, which even in turn varies from our lingerie demographic. But I would say, Ian, you probably are in our sweet spot. So we do cater for a kind of 50-plus customer. We're certainly not leaving customers behind, and our focus is far broader than that. But that's certainly where we excel in our market share positions, particularly within clothing.
Kindly put. I feel cherished. But Stephen, before you've told us so many things that we want to pick up on, but before we go any further, let us focus on you. So, although we're talking today about M&S, you've had what can only be called an illustrious retail career. So maybe just draw the line that brought you to M&S through recent roles.
Yeah, sure. So I began my retail career in the early 2000s at Tesco. Started in marketing roles initially, and quickly saw the great opportunity of the wild west of the emerging e-commerce business, and so was part of the early teams in establishing Tesco Direct before actually moving to M&S. So I joined M&S for the first time in 2006. So I am what is known as an M&S boomeranger, having come back. So I spent 5 good years at Marks in a variety of e-commerce and business development roles, broadened my experience, I suppose, beyond the commercial elements of trading a website. And then had the pleasure of moving to for the following 9 years to join the George business, part of obviously the Asda business and part of the global Walmart business. So 9 great years there. I think that's where we probably met, Ian, for the first time, where I have very fond memories of you telling my team exactly what you thought of our experience in the early days. Obviously, it was full of love, and set some great foundations for the work that we did there in developing the George online presence. So that was a very entertaining 9 years, and then last year in June, actually during the pandemic, I rejoined Marks and Spencer's. So obviously a big decision for me to come back, but one that I found far too tantalising an opportunity to let slip.
So tell us why then, because firstly, it seems like no one leaves M&S. I remember doing some training there with the top 100, and I think the shortest tenure at director level was 19 years and went right up to, enormous numbers. So let's, no one's listening. It's just us, Stephen, so you can be totally honest. What was the one thing you thought, yeah, I have to go back? And secondly, what's the biggest change in those 9 years that sort of hits you as you walk through into the new offices? So what was the one thing and the big difference?
The big difference actually is the point that you made around tenure. There's been a huge amount of change in the last 5 to 7 years, a huge influx of very broad talent and diverse talent. And that is very much linked to the attraction of coming back. M&S is a business that's in transformation. There's no secret there, as the majority of the high street is in transformation, but particularly M&S, and the investment under Stephen and Archie in ensuring that we've got the right transformation plan and we've got the right capabilities within the business to drive the fundamental change that's required was, to me, the real reason why I wanted to come back. I wanted to be part of that. I believe in the transformation plan, and I believe in the role that I have in being able to make a difference to what I think we all know is a much loved brand within the UK. And everybody has an opinion of the brand, but it feels as though everybody's rooting for it all the time as well. So to be part of that transformation was too great an opportunity to miss out.
Looking from outside, I can remember when I first started in retail, I'd go to retail events, and everyone I sat next to seemed to know everyone else, and so we trained together at M&S. We were at M&S for X years together, and having come from the BBC, where everyone seemed to know each other, and everyone in the industry had been trained by the BBC to know how to do broadcast and digital, it's as if M&S used to have this role of creating the professional retailing talent for the industry. So how is that role seen now? Do you still feel a responsibility that, as well as, managing M&S's own results, you kind of are a beacon and a repository of knowledge for the industry? Is that something that you feel internally?
I'm not sure it is. I would say we still invest hugely and take great pride in the quality of our graduate trainee schemes, and would like to think that they absolutely continue to lead the way within the retail industry. But the reality is the skills required within retail to be developed 20 years ago are very different to the focuses now. Our focus has really shifted into digital and data. We've recently we've done a lot of work with Decoded initially. We have our own Beam Academy, which is very much focused on providing a greater breadth of opportunity, across all of our colleagues' stores and support offices to access the necessary skills for the new digital world. So it remains at the forefront of development. Remains at the forefront of what we need to provide and want to provide for our colleagues and for our business. But I don't think we feel as though we have a wider responsibility to bring on the next generation of retail leaders.
Jamie, we were talking earlier on about the partnerships involved and the new ways of working there. Was that something you wanted to pick up at this point? Because it seemed to be linked.
Yeah, they are linked, I think, Stephen. And I was just, you read the press and you see all sorts of stuff about Marks and Spencer's all the time. And Marks and Spencer, my opinion of events always been they'll do it themselves, kind of. They'll do their own thing, their own brands, their own way, kind of thing. But now it seems that that's opening up a little bit. Newer brands being brought into the e-commerce platform, particularly to be sold. What's the sort of strategy and vision there that you can share with us?
Our focus, our priority remains our own brand, our own label business, and will always that will always be at the core. We provide a huge amount of or we meet a huge number of our customers' needs. But there will always be others beyond our own label, beyond our own brand, and we would rather be providing our customers that opportunity to see us as a one-stop shop rather than for them to feel the need to go to our competitors. So it's very much around how do we offer complete, how do we provide a more rounded set of propositions for our customers to keep them within our ecosystem, keep them with spending with us, and hopefully shopping more frequently with us.
So that feels like a big change for you in a sense, for the ways you just described. How do you, does that mean a lot when you think about the internal view, as it were, opposed to your customer view, which you've just described very nicely? From an internal perspective, is that a big upheaval for the way in which the business has worked, considering that this is a bit of a change in the last few months, years, whatever?
Inevitably, it creates an element of internal conflict. I think that's consistent across other retailers who have started out as an own brand business with own brand buying teams. You have a lot of conversations about cannibalization and whether sales are truly incremental or not. There's a bit of rub and a bit of friction, but it's early days, and I think anybody should expect that. We want to provide complementary brands that support and perhaps even elevate our offer, demonstrate our great value credentials or our quality credentials. And so we'll continue to learn, and we'll continue to push forward and make sure that what we're doing continues to be complementary and not competitive.
And what about on the technology and operational side then? Because you have multiple technology sets within the same business culture. So on the one hand, you're running a bank. Nobody likes an agile, flexible, best effort bank. We want it to be 1,000% accurate. And yet you're talking about flexibility and agility on maybe the e-com, the customer, the comms, the publishing. You've got such a spread of activity there, which, any one of them would, be enough for a mere mortal. So how do you develop a sort of culture behind the scenes that can embrace everything from rock solid current accounts through to quick and dirty flexibility, working with partners? It sounds like an incredible task.
It is an incredible task. Quite simply, and if you add into that we need to continue to develop, to iterate, to improve, all aspects of our technology. But at the same time, we need to be managing, we're doing that whilst managing unprecedented levels of growth as a result of the pandemic. So we sit on what is, I suppose now, an old lady tech stack that was landed 8-9 years ago and has had over that time thousands and thousands of engineers interfering with the code and moving it on, and it, as you say, it becomes a very, very complex thing to manage. So we are investing very, very heavily in how we can not re-platform but reimagine, reinvent how we construct that stack to ensure that we've got as much flexibility going forward as possible. It's no easy task, that's for sure.
And so which direction are you taking that then? Because we hear a lot of microservices here, cloud there, composable, which was last year's word. In all of these, the fundamental part is smaller elements talking more to each other. And, technologists can now write in and tell me how wrong I am, but that's how I see it. So when you launched your .com platform, I think 10 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever, it was hailed as a bringing together a pinnacle of what could be done at the time. Where are you taking it now? What's the architectural view behind the next transformation?
I'm likewise not a technologist, and I think need to be careful what I say there. But obviously, what was 10 years ago, we're in a very, very different world, and we have spent a lot of time investing in how we move as much to microservices, as much to the cloud as we possibly can. But ultimately, what we're seeking to do, we're seeking to be able to provide engineers to be able to operate in far more agile ways than they currently can today. That means that we can continue to release change faster and faster, and that we unlock the bottlenecks that we inevitably have with the kind of, I suppose, the constraints that we have within today's stack.
And where do you take your inspiration from, Stephen? Because you have the international business, and I don't know whether your remit covers that side of it, but either way, do you take your inspiration when you look across into other countries and to other markets, or is you pretty much focusing on the UK in terms of how you evolve that customer proposition against how your competitors are doing it?
Yes, some and some. I would say we're probably more UK centric at the moment than internationally. I guess it depends on which part of the proposition you're looking at and how far we believe we're lagging or leading as to where we look for our inspiration. And I think where we're lagging more often than not, we're looking over our shoulder at our closest UK competitors, and where we're leading, we're probably looking far further afield around how do we continue to stay ahead of the game.
Mm. Now, you mentioned the P word earlier on, pandemic. So let's just very quickly, I had hoped by now it would be rearview mirror, but the fact we're not together in the studio shows it's not. Rather than looking backwards, let's maybe look forward to this autumn, maybe the first half of next year. What do you think the pandemic stresses, pressures, etc., what change have they affected at M&S, given you've got so many staff, 70,000 people who've become frontline workers, really? What's the change? Is there a different trajectory coming out of lockdown? Has there been a step change? Or is it a case that, it all got squashed down and now it's bouncing back more or less the same? What big effect do you think the pandemic had on you as a business?
Effectively, it accelerated our transformation plans. I think everybody uses a different number of years in which we move forward in the space of 9 months, whether it was 9 years or 7 or 5. Whatever it was significant. And for a business like M&S to overnight turn into effectively a pure player, it is really significant in a transformation journey for that many colleagues to need to switch mindset overnight, to change roles overnight, to learn new skills overnight. We had a mantra at the time which was never the same again. That overnight forced a never the same again. It absolutely enabled a big step forward for us. So as we continue to look forward, and yes, our shops are open now, but actually our shops are open, but our colleagues are performing different tasks than pre-pandemic. We have a very successful in-store fulfillment, online fulfillment in our stores operation as a result of having to pivot and act as a pure player for the best part of a year. So our store colleagues are multi-dimensional in their responsibilities now, with a lens almost equally of online versus an in-store sale, and that will need to continue to evolve as we need to continue to reimagine the role of our physical space. There's no doubt that we haven't sat here and gone, right, the stores are open, let's get back to how things were. We've absolutely embraced the it's difficult to call it a blessing, but a blessing in terms of a transformational agenda. There aren't many better ways of creating acceleration than the difficult times that we've just been through.
So if we then just get personal again, when you arrive in a new role, people are looking to you saying, tell us what to do, help us prioritize. There's very much a, come on, Stephen, you're running.com, give us the direction. But if you think, over the last year you've been there, what have you learned that maybe you didn't expect to learn or didn't even know you needed to learn? But, when you're at home, you think, oh my God, that is new, it's different. Something I didn't know I needed to know is now in my brain. Is there a journey that you've been on or a realization that surprised you more than your everyday transformation?
Much of crisis management, which is what it was, walking in, it's crisis management on the basis of, you're going from day to day, particularly from within my role and from an online perspective, of how do we manage these unprecedented levels of demand, and how do we continue to service our customers in the best possible way. It's a learning every day, because it's a new challenge, it's a new problem a slightly different problem every day that I haven't perhaps seen before. Nonetheless, it's just day-to-day crisis management. It's not fundamentally learning new skills or it's just dealing with different problems. I guess we all have to learn how to manage a peak and how to deal with a Black Friday. What we haven't had to do previously is learn how to manage a Black Friday every day.
Maybe that's the new requirement for the role, is not just peak, exactly. So as people come back to offices, people go back to stores, we can start looking maybe more than just day to day to even quarter to quarter. What is on your executive to-do list that you're thinking, I can't wait to get my teeth into that? What's the prize on your list for all the hard work of the last year? Have you got a project you're particularly looking forward to, or as things stabilise, you can get your teeth into?
There's a lot, actually. There is a lot. We've clearly converted a significant number of our M&S store, single-channel store customers into multi-channel customers over the last 12 months. And now is our real opportunity to ensure that they remain loyal and sticky to both channels, and that we're able to start to provide, that's whatever cliche we want to use in, but omni-channel experiences where we are really truly starting to leverage our physical stores, but create digital experiences. A lot of our focus priority is around our app and how we can start to do that in ways that add genuine value to customers, not just transactional experiences, but value add services and experiences. We know that our lifetime value of our app users is significantly higher, and so accelerating that journey, working with a retail team now who have absolutely embraced the two-channel approach. And I think you will know, and everybody know over the years, there's always been a level of competition between channels, and I think that's something that has been truly broken down as a result of the last 12 months. So really starting to look at designing customer experiences across our channels. It feels like it's not the hard yards that it's always been historically.
Sounds like we're having this conversation from 2000. All the things we used to promise 20 years ago, we're now saying, this is the time it's really going to work.
I was going to say, it sounds like a rebalancing of the business in a sense. You kind of, from mainly before the pandemic, more store action and, conflicts and all the things you just said, and then pandemic, all online, and then back to a rebalance and finding a happy medium somewhere, I suspect.
It's a happy medium. Yeah, absolutely. But, we know our chairman will say it, our chief exec will say it often. Our success rides on the business success rides on our success within digital and how we operate going forward.
Great. So no pressure then, Stephen. And we're even more pleased that you took time out to chat with us. It's been fun getting the connection up and running, but I appreciate your perseverance. And it's just fantastic to hear the level of energy, focus, and the path for M&S, which, we've tracked for years, monitor carefully, and of course, wishing every success as we, what's the phrase, build back better? I'm sure someone said that before. Stephen, thank you so much indeed for joining us.